She got me feeling some feelings I ain't felt in a while. She got me thinking about marriage and her having my child. I buy her favorite with wine and give her all of my time. I thank the Lord for bringing her in my life. Yeah. We've been friends now for quite some time, and Lord knows more than friends is what I want in my mind. I told her how I feel, now our friendship's been jeopardized. She's blocking all my love, I give her space and some time. I fell in love with my friend, I don't apologize, no. Even though our friendship has been jeopardized, I give her space and give her time. Every day that passes by, it's hard to get her out my mind. She's truly one of a kind. Love and friendship's hard to find. I can find another love, but don't wanna put in the time. I don't mean to moan and whine, I'm just really feeling hurt. I've been in love before, but this time feels like the first. I've been hurt before, but this time feels like the worst. I'm dealing with this pain as I write it in this verse. Yeah, come on. Love is bliss and love is blind. Love is often sought after, love is hard to find. And even though I'm seeking love, I gotta keep in mind, I gotta love myself first, I need some space and time. I try to go about my day and keep her out my mind. Getting money, focused on my hustle and my grind. Sometimes after 1 a.m. she crosses through my mind. I think about our good times just to laugh, so not to cry. I still love her, if she needs me, she can hit my line. If she's hungry, needs some gas, or wants some barefoot wine. Love and friendship is something that is hard to find. I fell in love with my best friend, I don't apologize, no. I fell in love with my friend, I don't apologize, no. I hope and pray our friendship hasn't been jeopardized, yeah. Thug Nasty.
She gon' make it clap, I'ma show her stat. She gon' throw it back, I'ma blow a rag. Lemon pepper wings, we bout to smoke a pad. Drinking the Coke and Jack, on my open tab. I like to see my independent women winning. Get it, flip and spend it. Stay about your business and your benefits. She way up there, getting dizzy spinning. She ready to make that ass drop any minute. Niggas be Superman, Captain Kirk, and the waitress is serving. The strippers is twerking for Birkins, but gaming is working. Literally, niggas be bitter for weeks. Cause all you got from her is some glitter on your cheek. She made a phony plan for a lonely man. So he dropped 40 bands on her OnlyFans. He had dreams of holding hands on the sand. Should've listened to your homies. Damn, she on that pole again.
Drop it down low, yeah, mob out her chips. Get your stacks every night, little baby ain't about to quit. Big body, Birkin, red bottoms, big tipper. Yeah, she can spot him, she can drop it down low, yeah, mob out her chips. Get her stacks every night, little baby ain't about to quit. Big body, Birkin, red bottoms, big tipper. Yeah, she can spot him, check the thunderstorm. When I'm in the building, bring a few bottles. Yeah, I'm chillin', hit the stage and watch her clap it. Draw them goons, little mama a magnet. Top shelf, she don't do them lame. She'll break them pockets, it's not a game. Want a mouth off? She dustin' and disgusting, better play them cards right. I wouldn't trust her, she can drop it down low. Yeah, mob out her chips, get your stacks every night. Little baby ain't about to quit. Big body, Birkin, red bottoms, big tipper. Yeah, she can spot him, she can drop it down low. Yeah, mop out her chips, get her stacks every night. Little baby about to quit. Big body, Birkin, red bottoms, big tipper. Yeah, she can spot him, yeah.
I pledge allegiance to the game that I play each day called life, and to live each day as a holiday with all peace and no strife. To refrain from all negativity and myself refrain from being negative. I must say that today, I'm blessed with more time to play positive. Folks, I love this. So temporary, folks in this game. It's so hard to be easy and try and maintain. You gotta stay on the hustle. You gotta get that dough. I'll say it again, folks. This is all I know. I gotta keep that money on your mind. Let's get paid, folks. It's about that time. It's so temporary. Every situation in this game. Pay attention, play and listen, cause the rules have changed. How you play to win it, this ain't. You gotta get in where you're fitting. It's a trial, man. Temporary situations in this game. Pay attention, play and listen, cause the rules have changed. How you play to win it, this ain't. You gotta get in where you're fitting. It's a trial, man. When it comes to this game of life, some folks be acting too scary. Folks, we all got situations and they all temporary. They all vary in degrees of severity. Not to be scary of the cheese is a rarity. You see, most folks be running from the dough. Straight to a 9 to 5, and this is the way they live the rest of their lives. Spending 40, 50 years at the same old grind, complaining how their life is, asking when I get mine. You're gonna get yours when you get up and go get it. I took those words to heart, believed it, and I did it. Now that I got it, gonna go ahead, get gone. Being broke was temporary, now it's time to move on. Temporary situations in this game. Pay attention, play and listen, cause the rules have changed. How you play to win it is the same. You gotta get in where you fit in. It's a trial, man. Temporary situations in this game. Pay attention, play and listen, cause the rules have changed. How you play to win it is the same. You gotta get in where you fit in. It's a trial.
I've been on my grind lately, niggas hate me. Had to cut them off, niggas looking at me shady. Yeah, I'm just trying to shine and stack that paper daily. If you talking about a verse, then you gotta pay me. Yeah, I've been on my grind lately, niggas hate me. Had to cut them off, niggas looking at me shady. Yeah, I'm just trying to shine and stack that paper daily. Yeah, if you talking about a verse, then you gotta pay. Yeah, I've been on my shit lately, and it's crazy now, niggas hate me. Give a fuck about how they feel, and that's on the day. Ape City, that's the fam, we feel like the Navy. Niggas talking out they necks, but they know it's gravy. Yeah, I'm trying to ball on these niggas. When niggas needed help, they used to call on the nigga. I'm standing on my 10, I ain't calling no nigga. Niggas talking deals, well, I'ma need them figures. Look, check this out. Matter of fact, I need a couple mil. Bitch, I ain't 6'9", I can't take a deal. I'm getting paid for real. Niggas hate for real. Bitch, I'm still up in the field, but I get paid to chill. And we sliding like a spare wheel. Buddy lift them off the ground like a pair of heels. Cut them off. Plug, throw 'em, bitch, I'm Randy Moss. Niggas talking about a verse, then that's finna. I've been on my grind lately, niggas hate me. Had to cut them off, niggas looking at me shady. Yeah, I'm just trying to shine and stack that paper daily. If you talking about a verse, then you gotta pay me. Yeah, I've been on my grind lately, niggas hate me. Niggas had to cut them off, niggas looking at me shady. Yeah, I'm just trying to shine and stack that paper daily. If you talking about a verse, then you gotta pay me. Yeah.
Tryna get this paper like dirty and clean, I need an egg white. Had to cut them off, we are not the same. Cause birds of my feather don't never flock or play. You want a hot take, cop a verse from an A. How you beefin', bringin' sliders, nigga, we stay. Fitting about Kate, I can relate like I only pay. Say it to your face, I don't give a fuck, they know I don't play. I'm throwing it up, I let in my nuts, I know they gon' hate. See, we be on what? I don't see nuts, stopping this place. I'm all about fuzz, but start talking guns, I'm copping a K. Anyway, I need plenty pays, plenty ways. Trying to escape my penny days. Ignore the hate, but shortstop and we don't tolerate. I'm trying to fill my safe until I break the bank. I need everything.
I've been on my grind lately, niggas hate me. Had to cut them off, niggas looking at me shady. Yeah, I'm just trying to shine and stack that paper daily. If you talking about a verse, then you gotta pay me. Yeah, I've been on my grind lately, niggas hate me. Had to cut them off, niggas looking at me shady. Yeah, I'm just trying to shine and stack that paper daily. Talking about a verse, then you gotta pay. Yeah.
Contemplating life through the lens of death. Sleepless nights begging for a rest. Cardiac is sped up from dreams gone bad. Hot sweat on a platter, queen size with a ladder and a pea underneath. Is this how it be? An eternal sleep without repentance. Better get started, hot some water, light a candle and go far in. As far as time's concerned, it's a blur. All I'm in is all there is. This moment in the making of it, better intend on my creations. Cause when I'm creeping through my back doors, distractors get what I asked for without paying attention. So it stole from me. I wanted deep sleep in my place. I squeeze parables between a few bars just to get space. They got a hold on me. I went to my highest mirror and it told on me. How you doing? Nah, how you being? What happened to you? Cause that's all I'm seeing. So how is your hearing? Better check the rhymes, Q-tip, and follow advice from this chick. Like, how you doing? Nah, how you being? What happened to you? Cause that's all I'm seeing. So how is your hearing? Better check the rhymes, Q-tip. So you better check the rhyme. No guess about the quest to be daylight, my soul. Middle of the body, above womb and sacral. Some patterns sacred, so many stay old. Once you told yourself the truth about you, stay faithful. Fake feeling, it be seeming so appealing when it's real at first. So nourishing until you die in a thirst. Backstroke, blind eye, see skies, no signs up ahead. Clear water turn into quicksand. Traveling land with no roots to guide. Scaling rocky terrain with no new boots to buy. No money anyway, on the best and now lost. Being unintentional and powerful, it's the cost. Who you finna cross? God in the flesh being. Pictures painted when I meditated, I seeing. Written word predicated on what I was peeping. The bigger inner self spitting game when she was speaking like, how you doing? Nah, how you being? What happened to you? Cause that's all I'm seeing. So how is your hearing? Better check the rhymes, Q-tip, and follow advice from this chick. Like, how you doing? Nah, how you being? What happened to you? Cause that's all I'm seeing. So how is your hearing? Better check the rhymes, Q-tip. I said you better check the rhymes.
Real. Hey, shit. Right here, boy. Real shit, my nigga. That real shit, nigga. Good as fuck, nigga.
Hey, hit this shit, nigga.
My uncle got locked in 97, came home in 2011. Most of my loved ones is ex-felons. My nigga split up on me, bro, we was getting high. He said he slipped, he may have to sit down and do some time. But that's the loved one, so I told him if you need anything, just holler. And I'ma hold you down, you'll see it's gonna be alright. That's just a solid, I'm following the rules to the game. Plus if it was me, I know my nigga would do the same. Still bumping with a few cats from my block that might need gunshots. Cause real niggas don't call the cops. I still adhere to the rules of which I was raised by. Get money, never switch up and stay fly. Now you should dress cold, nigga, your mind stay. Never fictional what I spit, plus I rhyme great. Don't fuck with fairy tales that niggas make up. Roll top shelf shit, don't twist, don't shake up, nigga. Yeah. I don't expect no sucker niggas to feel this. No. Why? Cause only real niggas gon' feel some real shit. Yeah. I don't expect no sucker niggas to feel this. No. Why? Cause only real niggas gon' feel some real shit.
Imagine the unimaginable. It's the incredible, unstoppable. Brody Locust back up in your stereo. Whoa, hot damn, back up on my bullshit. Master of disaster is the pastor in your pulpit. Talking this shit, I spit a loogie in your Wi-Fi. Crumbling his birthday cake. Enemies is high times. I've been seasoned, might as well call me Zatarans. I was in them project buildings where they use them battle rams. And break my soldiers with the random numbers through fingertips. With flip phones and triple boosters and unruliness. Stayed away from sucker shit. Stayed away from dirty rats. Sat on that couch, got off an ounce of some of that soft fat. By the time I'm 22, shit, I had a lot to lose. Big brother did a bid, and when he got out, he said we gonna get rich. Don't count me out. My heart is colder than a cooler. Thank God for the game that I learned from my big bro, Judah.
Yeah. I don't expect no sucker niggas to feel this. No. Why? Cause only real niggas gon' feel some real shit. Yeah. I don't expect no sucker niggas to feel this. No. Why? Cause only real niggas gon' feel some real shit.
Yeah, I was taught a scared man can't win. Half heart, half money. I was homeless, never bummy, sometimes broke with little money. Had a dream and put in work, whether rain, snow, or sunny. Early bird, get the worm, early nigga, get the money. I take hustling seriously, ain't a damn thing funny, nah. ain't a damn thing funny. I take hustling seriously, ain't a damn thing funny. Nah, ain't a damn thing funny. My ex calls me a rude dude. I had to leave her cause her head the game was boo-boo. Get a new girl and break her in like new shoes. I like to keep her ass guessing like I'm Blue's Clues. Ooh, lyrically blessed, call it juju. Lyrical hoodoo, yeah, I'm spitting voodoo. And who knew a ugly nigga like me could have so many women across the country? What the fuck? Yeah, I know what's going on. You smiling in my face, but you wanna see me gone. Why can't we all just get along? I just wanna get my money and be left alone. Talk to me, tell me what's going on. Where they act like they support you, but they hating all alone. I don't even care if you hating on my song, but if you think I won't make it in life, you dead wrong. Yeah, you dead wrong. You think I can't spit it? I prove you dead wrong. You think I don't live it? I prove you dead wrong. You think I won't get it? I prove you dead wrong. Yeah, meditating on my next move, smoking Gorilla Glue. The hybrid puts me in a lyrical mood. I light it up and let it do what it do. Pick up my pen and pad, write down my thoughts and views. My mama raised no fool, my daddy raised no coward. I spit the real deal every top of the hour, top of the morning. Good morning, America. I see the White House got the world in hysteria, but I'm not scared of you. I don't know fear. I predict Trump's impeachment the end of the year. No year 2020 in my vision, and I can see clearly now. Fuck the system. My roots are from a lyrical jungle. I stay humble. I spit real rap, don't trap nor mumble. I don't freestyle cause I'm too humble. I write my verse down to tell my struggle. Yeah, I know what's going on. You smiling in my face, but you wanna see me gone. Why can't we all just get along? I just wanna get my money and be left alone. Talk to me, tell me what's going on. Where they act like they support you, but they hating all along. I don't really care if you hating on my song, but if you think I won't make it in life, you dead wrong. Yeah, you dead wrong. You think I can't spit it? I prove you dead wrong. You think I don't live it? I prove you dead wrong. You think I won't get it? I prove you dead wrong. Jake One on the beat. Jake. Yeah.
What's the feeling? It's euphoria. It's the type of love that directors make a story of. It's the type that makes you get a ring, have a wedding on the beach with your friends and a honeymoon in Kokomo. Man, she had my heart like an open door, overload. Fiend for her love like a drug and an overdose. Ignored the red flags, Crips round some Suwus. Now I'm the fool, the one left jumping through hoops.
Baby, I go on my way to do things for you. So crazy, talking every spin rings for you. For the first time, I know what it feels to share. But what good is that if getting hurt is all it does? Cause now I feel give me everything that you would do anything for. And now I'm gonna give it all. Give you everything that you would do anything for. And now I'm gonna give it all. It's feelings that we used to feel gone away. Future we supposed to have thrown away. Ignoring all the signs that came along the way. Till now we can't even get along with that. And they went back. Where to go? Time went back. Where to go? Try to show you how to live before you do it. Don't be taking, giving up.
She started off so strong, I thought I met the woman for me. So I came more correct than any other one before me. I was looking past your scars, I was looking at your heart. You were looking out for you, I was looking out for ours. You say you ride or die, I think you like the sound of it. When the times are tough, you ain't the type to stick around for it. I ain't gonna be the one that's hounding it, I'm drowning it. Even though it's hard to take the steps to turn around from it. I ain't for the meddling or settling, especially when I can have it better with Loretta, Kim, and Evelyn. You can call it petty, but I revel in. Cause I was taking chances that had me completely out of my element. You ain't even deserve it, I gave it still. I done picked the groceries, made the meal, and paid the bill. And you ain't even had the decency to even clean the dishes. I'm finally chucking juices to this bitch, man. I swear she had me.
Give you everything that you would do anything for. Now I'm gonna give it all. everything for. Now I'm gonna give it up. Oh, baby, not the type of person that you claim to be. So crazy, type of bitch I'll be ashamed to be. Fooled me twice, so now shame on me. Crazy thing, don't want the years explain to me, cause all I'll be is give you everything that would do anything for. Now I'm gonna give it up. Oh yeah, give you everything that would do everything for. And now I'm gonna give it up.
It's the Bakers, Louis V. Yeah. She been wondering about me, I've been wondering about bread. So long she got a pain in her head. Don't worry about little me. I'm on the hustle like every other fucking week. No time for these. I'm trying to touch your on M's and laid up all night, baby, just not him. The Henny in my cup filled up to the brim. It might tip over, yeah, spill over. Life of a tycoon, stay on a tycoon. Man, she think I'm cheating, done with psycho. Meanwhile, we making maneuvers. Me and Louis V shit like manure. Oh, baby, it's all gravy. I'm married to the grind, cause that shit pays me. So you gon' be number 2? I'm the bread, yeah. That's my boo.
Think about me when you get your bread, cause I think about you when I get my bread. All night and day we be hustling. I was wondering, you little wonder bread. If you think about me when you get your bread, cause I think about you when I get my bread. All night and day we be hustling.
Gave it a minute, then I game on him, honestly. Been at this so long, but probably your mama see. I'ma be constantly kicking these. Push up on me, will push off in the casket. Pass it, reintroducing the classic. Going in the home, everybody off of that. Hustled in the ghetto, my hobby getting extra. Pistol magazine and I'm moving with deadly tactics. All I ever wanted in this world was to make it. With no opportunity given, I simply gotta take it. Cause dope fiends, gangsters and dummies, and all these undercovers come and fuck me. But that's another story, I'm a rain. Take over terrain, it's time to bring the bang. So what the fuck you saying? Suckers are slain, banging, and bodies turning up every day. And welcome to the bay, it's a cold place. Got them face down, but he ain't had no face, no witnesses. Witnesses got no trace. Flying 30 cars don't belong to him. Government looks wrong to him. Federal agents on to him. These young next iPads and iPhones, be careful. They run up in your home, put one up in your dome. These young on the corners everywhere. To the street lights come on and they crank heads everywhere. Welcome to the ghetto, crank heads everywhere. On the corner, crank heads everywhere. Young catching phones, crank heads everywhere. Welcome to the ghetto, one up in your dome. Welcome to the ghetto, crank heads everywhere. Run up in your home, crank heads everywhere. Young on the corner, dope fiends everywhere. Welcome to the ghetto.
Like a thick bitch, sweeter than candy. I keep the heater hot, that motherfucker come in handy. I run my own shit, yeah, nigga, I'm the owner. Bananas with the clips, gorillas on the corner. Ain't nothing fake about me, nigga, this is my persona. You don't really want the drama, nigga, I put that on my mama. I'm a 707, nigga, reppin' California. And the only time I sober when I'm blowing marijuana, nigga. They treat me like a villain, nigga, really, I'm just chillin'. A penny for your thought, shit, my mind is worth $1 million. Catch a nigga slippin', bet your fate a nigga sealin'. So I say, fuck the world and continue with my mission. Sippin' on this Henny shit, it got me kinda tipsy. I'm all up in my feelings, R.I.P. my nigga Nipsey. Only real when I'm talking, I don't need to fucking lie. Why I try to be the hardest, I don't need to fucking try, nigga. Wait a minute, I'm just trying to clean my plate. Too much heat for these niggas, got them pushing back their dates, nigga. Wait a minute, we been sipping on this potent, catch us at the light. Real ones in the bucket, hella choking, nigga. Wait a minute, nigga, when shit was going down, I be the realest motherfucker, never had to dust a crown, nigga. Wait a minute, nigga. On my mama, nigga, I ain't never lied. MOS until my death, nigga, I'm hustle certified, nigga. I walk like a hustler, I talk like a hustler. This game is like a blunt, I'm here to smoke the motherfucker. Mediocre, never forever, winning in my bloodline. Been at this forever, hustle game and part-time. Got the game from my aunt, yeah. I got an old soul, got a tongue hot as Hades, and I'm so damn cold. Said I got an old soul, fuck with me, feel the heat. California earthquake, a nigga heavy in these streets. Don't fuck with these niggas, don't play with a bitch. Convo ain't about money, you ain't talking about shit. Then found a nigga niche, motherfucker, I'm the shit. Disrespectful with the spit, figure hating in this bitch. Who you niggas really with when we at the finish line? Fucking future so bright, you can see it if you're blind. I might leave this bitch tomorrow, I ain't wasting no time. Niggas playing with these streets, but ain't no kidding about mine. Wait a minute, I'm just trying to clean my plate. Too much heat for these niggas, got them pushing back their gates. Wait a minute, we been sipping on this potent, catch us at the light. Real ones in the bucket, hella choking. Wait a minute, nigga, when shit was going down, I be the realest motherfucker, never had to dust the crown. Wait a minute, on my mama, nigga, I ain't never lied. M.O.S. to my death, nigga,
I'm a pot smoking, disrespectful asshole. From the Bay, but left my heart in Castro. Busy writing lyrics, washing dishes for the cash flow. Hard to keep track of the goddamn gram smoke, but I gotta stay sane. You be with your dogs, I be with my Great Danes. They all call me Cash, I've been trying to make change. Could've moved to LA, they all do the same thing as me. Was recording with Don and Jay Lee. Jay Lee had about a half recording these songs, and maybe have to roll the blunt or two. Minimal talking, the smoking doesn't stop even after your mama walking. Blunts, I still being passed, still coughing. Promising we gon' be real till we in coffins. Tryna make a slap that the Moopy girls can vibe to. R.I.P. my nigga, you know Mookie had to slide through. You know Spitter had to rhyme too. Me and my homies see the things that you're blind to. It's like you're blind fool, it's like your mind's fool. I got my mind fool, cause I stay mindful. Get stung if you threaten my beehive. Hate and get this, then kiss my black behind. Good vibes, feeling better than a weed high. Trying to shoot some birdies, but don't know when the tea time is. Trying to be the best since we was kids. Trying to be the rest, but too busy getting lit. Trying to cheat the test and next to certain kids. Looking over shoulders, finish early, wasting time. Was supposed to write an essay, but too busy writing rhymes. In the corner, reminiscing, rapping about the different times. I was later underrated. If you hate it, you could die. Man, I'm kidding, but listen when the nigga on the mic, cause I got shit I gotta say. It's been a few years, still got homies in the A. She was talking about some shows, me and Magic like okay. Feeling comfy in these clothes as I'm sitting in this cave. Getting high for all the lows that I witness every day. I got love for where I stay, but I gotta move away. Know it's cheaper in the desert, so I'm living in the Bay. Cause the people in the desert look at you at different ways. And I hate it, rather walk down Market Street, seeing people negative. You walk down Market Street, see me with my tape in my backpack, double tree, switching flavor grape, having flashbacks, making tracks up at Scotty Bays, dropped a 5-track, Dopey D, took a couple weeks, with the truth, sister in the proof original, I think a little more, who is this, written for myself, is it though, listen up and learn some things you didn't know.
Dedicated to my best friend, yeah, my lover and my best friend, I love you best friend. Hey, Black Milk on the beat. Yeah, she stood about 5'6" with some nice sized tits. Her GSLs make a nigga bust quick. She only gets submissive when I'm giving her the dick. Any other time she bossy playing hard to get. We were friends before lovers, that's some real nigga shit. We both have a past and we recognize this. We don't put a title on our relationship. She lets me do me and I appreciate this. She's my best friend. Sometimes I wish she was my girlfriend. I want her all to myself, fuck her X-Men. I know better than to let my feelings get in the way of our friendship, that would be a sin. But it's hard because she's beautiful and hella cool. She's really smart, like the same things that I do. Now I'm confused and don't know what to do. I'm getting mad when she tell me she talked to other dudes. We argue on the phone, she hang up in my face. I'm feeling bad cause we ain't talked in a couple days. I text good morning love, she reply good morning babe. I text back I apologize, she texts back it's okay. We back talking again, I'm having better days. I got it bad, call me Usher Ray. I love my best friend, I love her even when she tell me that she don't want to be more than just friends. Cause even though I want her as my girlfriend, my heart knows that it's best she be my best friend. I love you best friend. Black Milk on the beat. My lover and my
bitch, I got the juice. Working hard and I pay my dues. Get to see the Nicki and they choose. I'ma get a loose. Ballin' like a player, never lose. Bitch, I got the the bitch, I got the juice. And I be like, whoa, 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 whoa. Turn it up, do this everywhere I go. Hey, whoa, 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 whoa. My kid and I'm cutting up the flow. Hustlers around me, pretty itches round me. Never been a bum, but the slums where they found me. Mexicans guns, where I'm from, it surrounds me. Run for it, run, but you know we burning down free. Show me where the ounce be, show me where the pounds be. I'ma be there soon, I be feeling kinda drowsy. I be with the goons, I be chilling where the hounds be. Nicotina King had to show me where the crown be. Purple light green, roll it up, blow steam. Pass it to the team, I'ma let her do her thing. Riding through my city, I'm driving, getting trippy. The police tryna get me even if a nigga clean. Cop some new J's and I walk through the bay. Love where I stay, I could do this every day. The V where I play, I be doing what I do. Dripping from my shoes like a nigga spilling juice. I got the shoes, working hard and I pay my dues. Get to see the nigga and they choose. I'ma get a lose, ballin' like a player, never lose. Bitch, I got the juice. And I be like, whoa, 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 whoa. Turn it up, do this everywhere I go. My gig and I'm cutting up the flow.
Ain't be my crew, and my smile got them jewels. You got them shoes, man, we all got them too. I got them rare things that you cannot find. Wasting your time, you still standing in line. I'm straight to the front of that. I got the gun in that. And I heard when you was in jail, you was a puncher bag. We ain't with none of that. You can run the facts good in every hood. I slide with them suckers that did home invasions, stealing at your homes. Now I'm on stages, stealing all the shows. Everybody know where we go, that's where the party go. Nigga, all the shows feeling like Super Mario. Pocket full of green, that's Luigi. I need my money. Free killer, got the juice from at the Z's. And I keep your bitch wet when you see me. Killer ass, put it on glass like a squeegee.
I got the juice, working hard and I pay my dues. Get to see the nigga and they choose. I'ma get a lose, ballin' like a player, never lose. Bitch, I got the juice. And I be like, whoa, 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 whoa. Turn it up, do this everywhere I go. Hey, whoa, 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 whoa. Get my gig and I'm cutting up the flow.
Yo, Anna, this is DJ Ro. You in the building?
Sure am.
Let's start the show.
Let's do
Anna's Historical Podcast Radio. Let's do it.
Here we go. Yes. Hey, what's up, everyone? What's up, Roselle? Let's go live right here.
What's up? What's up? What's up?
How you doing?
Good, and you?
Pretty good. Yeah. Yeah, you did some shows over the weekend?
Yes, I did one big. Well, you know what? We did a show on Thursday, which you know about. You were there on Thursday, and then we did Saturday. Saturday was fun. So you remember when Mike Fish came through on Thursday?
Yeah.
He was kind of practicing his set.
Yeah.
For Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah, that looked really fun. I was like popping.
It was raw.
Good. Good. Cool. Do we have any of his music to play?
Oh, we definitely got Mike Fish.
Oh, cool. Yeah, well, we should play his music. We should have him on the show sometime.
Oh, most definitely. And just so you know, I do always play his music. You just never, you'd have to know the songs, but I do play his music.
Okay.
All the time.
Okay. I thought so. Just trying to keep up. Yeah, so I found a cool TV show this weekend, Godfather of Harlem with Forrest Whitaker.
Yes, you know what? I still got to watch Down and Out Abbey or whatever that is.
No, Mad Men. I switched it to Mad Men.
So you don't want me to watch Down? Oh, okay, fine.
I think Downton Abbey is like a real girly type of show, and Mad Men isn't at all.
Okay, all right. I'll do Mad Men instead because this weekend I have a slower weekend, so this should be a good weekend for me to watch some movies.
A lot of people that worked on the Sopranos went on to work at Mad Men, and my brother. Mad Men's a show that like men and women like evenly. So yeah, I wasn't. I was just messing with you about Downton Abbey. But the point is, to just try new stuff. I got a wide range of cultural references.
That's cool. Okay. Well, see, that was around the time because, like I said, around the time that I know with Godfather in Harlem came out.
Yeah,
they just had so many series of different stuff, man. It's just I got overwhelmed. I just stopped the whole series thing. I just stopped watching all that stuff for a while.
well, yeah. Well, Mad Men was on from about 2007 to 2015. And yeah, so that was
I stopped around that. I'm serious, dude. The last show I think I watched where I could say I religiously was watched was when they had what was that thing on MTV they used to have all the time, Real World.
Yeah, I never watched.
After that, I kind of stopped watching like series and all that because they just started coming out with stuff all over the place.
Well, I never watched any of them till they went to screening. I started watching Mad Men several years into it because it was on Netflix, and so I watched, I think, the last 2 seasons as they came out, and the rest of them I'd already watched. And I started watching Boardwalk Empire after it was already done, and Godfather, I just finished season 1 of Godfather of Harlem, but it has 2 seasons, and then there's a 3rd one that's going to be coming up. So that's cool, because sometimes I feel like everything, sometimes you just feel like everything good has already happened. But it's more like Boardwalk Empire than The Sopranos. It's really, because in a way, The Sopranos could go quite a while without something violent happening. I mean,
true, very true.
Yeah, and that was one of the things they did really well. That was just so theatrical. I mean, they'd say like the audience was they'd sort of lull the audience into thinking that everything was chill, and then they'd have something really violent happen. But Godfather of Harlem is very violent. There's, I think there's fights and killings in every episode. So it's about Forrest Whitaker plays an African-American mobster named Bumpy Johnson, who's based.
Yeah, that was actually a real mobster at one point.
Yeah. Do you know anything about him?
I don't know much about him, but I do know for a fact it was a real mobster at one point.
Yeah.
So you get a lot of these movies, like you also see an American Gangster.
Yeah.
That they don't really show the what I would say the black mobster, so to speak. They don't talk about him as much. So
well, they are more so now. I mean, what happens is, again, is like equality and civil rights and all of that drags its ass along. More people get the power to get in there and tell stories. Like there was Lovecraft Country, which I liked a lot, and that was produced by Jordan Peele based off of the success of Get Out. So and then because after a while you start to see more diverse programming, and you start to see names like you'll see, if you look at cast lists and production crews, you'll see somebody that was maybe like second director or something, and you see them moving up to be a producer and a showrunner and all. I mean, there's so many titles, but I mean, until people are telling the stories, it's just incomplete. It's like if you have a party where it seems like you have a diverse crowd of people, but if the organizers are not diverse, then you're missing pieces, you're missing perspective that you just can't. I mean, that's why, I bring people in close to my producing so that they can provide perspectives and points of view that I don't have, that I wouldn't, because we each only have our own point of view. And so you have to when you can recognize that, it really, I mean, it gives you a lot more options. It gives you a lot more power. You know, I mean, people think that being powerful means just being totally on your own, but it's not. I mean, powerful people can bring in others who have different skills and delegate and get an idea and roll with it. So yeah, so Forrest Whitaker does it. And so in the show, he has been sent to, he's just gotten out of Alcatraz, and he's been there for 10 years, and he gets back to, and his wife and daughter are there. And it's kind of, they have this amazing apartment and lifestyle. So somehow I mean, his family was looked out for while he was incarcerated, and he just picks it right back up. I mean, some of the descriptions are saying that he's trying to put himself back on top. It's like, it doesn't appear to me that way at all. I mean, he immediately has his crew, and apparently, I mean, he was close with the Cosa Nostra, with the Italian mafia, and he didn't snitch. He did the time, he didn't snitch. And so he has a high level of protection because of that. So
I will be honest with you. I don't see how black mobsters could deal with that. Because I mean, it was hard. It seemed like it would be hard for a black mobster back then.
Yeah, but in a way, for one thing, there's always been an element in racist societies where people will deal with one black person. So that's what he was. And he was providing them an inroad into Harlem. So that's why I think that's very much, I mean, they weren't about to let in more than one black man. It's kind of like in Boardwalk Empire, there was Chalky White, and he just basically, he represented all the black people in town to the crime circles of Atlantic City. So that part I think is pretty realistic. One of the things, I mean, Forrest Whitaker is just great, in this role. It was interesting, I mean, James Gandolfini and Tony Soprano. And Gandolfini was just so charismatic. He just had it. And then in Boardwalk Empire, and the same in Scarface. I mean, Tony Montana, Al Pacino, he's just somebody that just is bigger than life, that you just can't stop looking at. And Steve Buscemi played Nucky Thompson, another real life gangster in Boardwalk Empire. Buscemi's not, charisma isn't about being handsome. I mean, it's just different. Handsome people can be charismatic, but charismatic people don't need to be handsome. So Buscemi wasn't. I mean, he just, I don't know. I mean, he was great in the role, but he didn't have personal magnetism, which as a criminal, I think is good, can also serve its own purpose. So Forrest Whitaker, I don't know. I mean, it's just interesting. He is really captivating, and you can't put your finger on it. one of the things that's interesting is, okay, so Nucky Thompson, the mobster, was selling booze, and the Sopranos had all sorts of different criminal stuff going on, but a lot of it was like ripping off suits and stuff like that. And they didn't get involved in drugs for that. Well, somewhat they did. I mean, when they did get involved in drugs, they'd be in trouble. And when some of them did, it was coke. But Bumpy Johnson is importing heroin into Harlem, and it depicts drug houses and just the damage and destruction that heroin did in Harlem. So that's an interesting aspect of it, because the mafia guys, I mean, they can kind of be doing stuff. They talk like, this is a business. Like, they can kind of seem like financial analysts or something. You don't necessarily think about what they're doing. And so what's really cool about Godfather of Harlem is other major figures are depicted, including Congressman Adam Clayton Powell and Malcolm X. The guy that depicts Malcolm X is just amazing. I mean, I've never seen, I didn't see Selma. He depicted Malcolm X in Selma. Do you remember that?
No, I don't remember that.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been a tiny role, because Malcolm X, I mean, didn't really have anything to do with Selma, hardly at all. So in this story, he's friends with Bumpy Johnson from back in the day, from when Malcolm X was a criminal himself. So it's just a marvelous, marvelous depiction. I mean, Malcolm X was charismatic, and he just gets that across. You want to listen to him, you want to look at him. And yeah, so that is just very cool. And so they also depict Congressman Adam Clayton Powell, which I like a lot. They're bringing in major figures. And I mean, for example, they have Malcolm X and Adam Clayton Powell spending a day together, which never would have happened. So for people that don't know the history, that's a little misleading, but I think people are better off seeing these dramatizations and getting an idea on who people were, and then looking it up themselves and hopefully learning. But I mean, so what? They wouldn't have spent it. So what? They wouldn't have spent a day together. If people learn more about the important things they did, then that is great. And there's a scene where they're talking about the March on Washington, and they mentioned Bayard Rustin. They say King and Randolph and Rustin are getting screwed by JFK. And I was like, they mentioned Rustin, how cool. And a Philip Randolph, who's considered, the civil rights has always been a movement. People have been fighting oppression as long as there's been oppression, but A. Philip Randolph and the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters were major. So it's very cool that this TV show is depicting it. So with Bumpy Johnson, they make him they show his soft spot for his family. They have to do that, but I mean, nothing was like The Sopranos so far as the psychologist thing. Nothing. It was like there was two stories going on. So you don't have anything like that in Godfather of Harlem. You don't have any of that introspection. he has, so he's married, and he and his wife have a daughter, but the daughter is actually their granddaughter, who doesn't know that. And he has a daughter that's on heroin. And she winds up getting clean through the Nation of Islam and joining the Nation of Islam. But she's still, I mean, you know, she's her father's daughter too. So people are kind of after her to do more than than being a nurse. And Elijah Muhammad is depicted. So it's really cool. I'm pretty sure, I mean, they'll show Malcolm X's assassination, I'm sure, because they're getting closer to it in the story. In the show, he gets suspended from the Nation of Islam. There's a whole element with the daughter of one of the Italian leaders dating a black guy. So they have that part of the story, and the dad's blood and dead and all that. That's really not interesting, but you know, they have to have it. So yes, Godfather of Harlem. And yeah, I mean, it's just cool. I mean, it's just interesting. So yeah, I was looking up Bumpy Johnson, and so yeah, but so like there's a scene where the older daughter takes her stepmom, because the woman raising the little girl is her stepmom. They go looking for someone in one of the heroin houses, and they're going through there, and it's just, you know, strung out people all over the place. And so she says, this is where your lifestyle comes from. So that's the Carmela Soprano type moment. But Mamie, but Bumpy Johnson's wife is actually more involved in the business than Carmela Soprano. So yes. Okay. So meanwhile, Ukraine, at last I heard, there isn't officially a war in Ukraine. And we're going to try and talk about that a little bit. I had some pretty good explanations down in my notes, and word went insane on me, because it's supposed to save, I had my documents saved, but it's still gone. It's so fucking weird. So yeah, that sucks. So, okay, so one of the reasons that I was looking at some history, so anybody go watch, I recommend Mehdi Hassan on MSNBC for everything. He has the Mehdi Hassan show. I first started to watch him on Al Jazeera, and very much wished that he would come to the US, because he's just such a great journalist and really educates people. And I thought that it would be very good for other US citizens to learn from him. So he is now, it's not as interesting to me personally, because a lot of the stuff he talks about, when he talks about stuff in the US, I already know about it mostly. But I'm still very glad he's there, and he's just such a fucking great. I mean, he got somebody to confess to war crimes. I mean, he's just fucking amazing. So what happened was, when the Soviet Union broke up and Ukraine became independent in 1991, the deal was that they needed to relinquish their nuclear weapons to Russia, which they did. And so now I mean, Russia wants to prevent Ukraine from joining NATO, the North American Treaty Alliance, because he doesn't want a NATO country on their border. So it's just, I mean, that's kind of the pretext. Like, yeah, he doesn't want that, but Putin does what he wants anyway. So I don't really quite understand the point of that. But there is a separatist movement in Ukraine, and there always has been, and they've been fighting the Ukrainian government backed by Russia. So what Russia has done now, they have crossed the borders of Ukraine, the internationally recognized borders, and gone into the separatist areas. So claiming that they're doing that to defend the separatists. So you could consider, I think you could consider that an invasion, but the separatists are claiming that they're part of Russia anyway. So Biden has sanctioned Putin's spy chief, Putin's deputy chief of staff, and multimillionaire Russian military bank. So the United States has deployed troops to NATO, to the border. Biden was asked if he'd send in ground troops, and he said that into the country, and he said that would be a world war. And I'm like, why? When will they learn not to answer those questions? I mean, it's just find a way to not answer it. And it's not in a way to be dishonest, but it's complex and you don't know what's going to happen. So you shouldn't say what you're not going to do when you don't know what's going to happen. It is out of his hands. He cannot control what Putin is going to do. And in military situations and other things, you do need to make decisions as things happen. So yeah, I already know they're going to be saying like, oh, you said you wouldn't do it. And it turns into like, so what? It's not the point that he said that's not even the point. You do what you need to do. But so yeah, because people will make that the point. So he shouldn't even answer, so far as I'm concerned. The Russian economy is self-sufficient, so for the most part. So these sanctions are not going to do much good, and a lot of the money Putin's money is just buried. I mean, who knows where it is, and that is the case for a lot of people. So that's the problem with sanctions. It's the same problem with sanctions against Cuba. It tends to hurt citizens, like everything. I mean, it hurts civilians more than anyone else. So, people are marching in Ukraine, and I don't know. So yeah, so I've been following that, and I had a really good explanation for it, which I'll try to find. Okay, so wow, this is kind of interesting. So, okay, Jean-Michel Basquiat, graffiti artist.
What's his name?
Jean-Michel Basquiat.
I've heard that name. Doesn't he? Isn't there have some long dreads or something?
Yeah. And
then they have like a documentary or like
there's a film about him.
Yeah.
Yeah. you recognize it. I mean, his art is just unmistakable. It's graffiti art, but I mean, it was recognized, the first graffiti artist to be recognized as art. Just really, really amazing. He died real young in 1988 from a drug overdose. And so obviously his paintings are very valuable. And so there is now a exhibit of 25 Basquiat paintings on cardboard showing in a museum in New Orleans. So it's really interesting because the question is like, okay, are they fake or not? I love that question with art because it's just so interesting. And technology can make such a big difference with things like that. I mean, there's so many ways to make canvas or whatever to make things look old. And with film, there's so many ways to manufacture things. So I just find it fascinating. So supposedly these belonged to a Hollywood producer who lived and they're from the early stages of Basquiat's career when he was staying in LA. Well, not that early because he was already represented by Gagosian, the art dealer. So Basquiat was staying with Gagosian and preparing for a show, but at the same time, according to these people, he had given this producer other pieces of his art that he just did on cardboard. So it's these small things like a series. And it's so hard. It's so hard with somebody, because because he could do small pieces of work really quickly. So he was always trying to get money for drugs, so he would just do a piece of art real quick for somebody for money. He's probably trading art for drugs too. And I guess he would barter, like he'd tell people like, okay, I'll give you this piece of art and get my girlfriend a trip to Europe. Because a lot of times, when people do stuff like that, it's a lot, that way he doesn't have to deal with taxes and stuff. He doesn't have to so you don't need to deal with accounting and all of that. So there's been all this research, and because it's interesting too, because there's a Basquiat Foundation. It doesn't even say, well, I guess the money would be going to private owners. There's some Basquiat Foundation to try and maintain his legacy. So there was just really interesting comments about somebody saying like, okay, well, this piece doesn't have the unity of his pieces. And then and the producer died a couple years ago, and these things were found by his relatives in his storage unit. So this guy was a Hollywood producer, and he would have known the value of this work. So the question is, did he forget about it? How do you forget that you have 25 Basquiat paintings? There was a poem that supposedly by Basquiat that was also in the guy's possession, and it had to do because the producer, he was a producer on MASH and he was Black. So the poem from Basquiat to the producer did have to do with them both being African American in Hollywood. And so there's somebody that believes that the pictures are authentic because of that poem. And so the pictures are supposedly on the backs of FedEx envelopes. So people were trying to look at the envelopes and figure out when FedEx started to use that certain kind of cardboard or something like that. So, yeah. However, they hit a dead end with that because it said in the article, cardboard is cardboard. So you really can't date it that much. And so the guy doing the show was saying like, well, I have a reputation too, because the show isn't getting that much publicity because people are nervous. There's a lot of people that are nervous about promoting it or associating themselves with it in case it turns out to be fake. And the guy that's, producing it says like, well, I have a reputation that's in danger too. So yeah, it's really interesting. And I mean, I wonder, it's sort of like, how we were talking about how the person at the fancy restaurant was just frying up tilapia, serving it, and like, okay, can you really tell the difference between a boxed wine and a $500 bottle of wine? And so,
yeah, some people will tell you they can.
Yeah,
that's crazy. So
yeah. Well, if you're accustomed to fine wine and fine dining, then, and that's what you have all the time, every day, then yeah, you probably could. I mean, if it's so, yeah, I can believe that. And I guess with art, if you've really studied art and have spent a lot of time analyzing something and looking at it, then you are more likely to know if there's just things you're going to notice that other people don't notice. Like, I listened to learn more. I listened to operas by Wagner nonstop for a year, but still, that's not even very much for Wagner. I should get back into it. And after listening to the same opera just dozens and dozens and dozens of times, now I was amazed with myself. I could actually, because orchestras are so complicated. There's so many instruments going on, and like a brass band or anything. I mean, anything where you have all those different instruments, you think, okay, am I really gonna know if there's a problem? But I've listened to so much Wagner now that I was at a show and I was like, okay, something's off with the conducting. And so then I was going, because I read reviews after a show. I don't like to read them before. And of anything, a film, a book, anything. And then I'll see that the reviewer had thought the same thing too. So then I'm like, yes, I'm so smart. So yeah, I mean, somebody that really knows, like if you who really knows the art, I mean, they're certainly gonna have things to look for that, you and I won't look for. So, okay, so here's a DJ question. you know how music is, you know, like what if somebody found some music and claimed that it was, what if you heard some music release that was claimed to have been made by somebody that's dead? Like, you know, like some recordings are found.
Like, let's just use like Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
I found like someone found like a Michael Jackson recording.
Yeah, like anybody, or like Michael Jackson, like Notorious B.I.G.
Like something that was never heard, but
yeah,
found.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd probably bump it.
Pardon?
I'd probably bump it. I'd probably play it. I mean, it depends on the situation of how you're. Is this like person trying to say it's theirs, or is this more just like
somebody saying, hey, this is somebody saying like, hey, I was cleaning out my storage room and I found these recordings by Michael Jackson, or, you know, by Notorious B.I.G.
I would play them.
Yeah, but would you be concerned that they were fake?
See, this is the question. Are they actually supposed to be them? Is it their actual recordings? Or are you saying that they're trying to say it's their recordings?
Well, as a DJ, you'd need to figure that out, wouldn't you?
It depends, though. You can't. I mean, I would be able to kind of tell if someone was trying to sound like Michael Jackson. I mean,
yeah, but what if it was you know, I mean, there's.
I see the question you're trying to ask, but it's kind of like what I'm trying to ask you is it their actual recording, or is it a fake? Because if it's a fake, I'm gonna know it's fake. I'm just gonna.
For sure.
I would. Really, I mean, come on now.
What if it was a really, really good fake? That happens all the time. I mean, that happens.
I don't know, man. That's kind of a hard. One thing I have noticed, it's hard to fake good artists. It's hard.
It is.
I haven't seen it done yet. I haven't seen, like, I can hear, like, they have this guy who does Michael Jackson. He does a trap version of Michael Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
But even though he tries to sound like Michael Jackson, if I had never seen him and someone tried to say, oh, this is Michael,
yeah,
I would know, dude, this ain't Michael Jackson.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just kind of have an ear. If someone tried to come at me and say, oh, this is James Brown, and it's a fake, dude, you're gonna know. You can't really fake them. You can't do it.
It happens all the time with classical music.
I don't know classical, so I don't know how that works. But when it comes to like R&B and even rock and roll, it's kind of hard to fake, because they even got stuff like that now. They got what you call like it's kind of like when you buy the CDs, you can buy like a CDs with a bunch of artists of their music, but it's sang by people, no-name people, and they try to sound like the artist. And I bought one of them CDs before, and you can tell the difference. You could tell, like, listen to this person. Oh, this isn't Michael. This isn't Queen. This isn't Prince. This is someone trying to sound like. They don't sound the same. They just don't sound the same.
Yeah, I mean, you know, this isn't like, I mean, that happens a lot with classical music, and you know, people are always like, oh, I found an undiscovered opera by Verdi. Then be like, okay, was it really by Verdi?
Now, see, this is my question, because see, the thing I will say, like with classical, you can kind of, and this is my theory, you may not can't fake the actual singer, but you can kind of fake the different, like, what is it, like the different instruments.
Well,
if you're good at playing it, like if you could play something, let's just say I had the same violin that one of them, the opera, one of their group has.
Yeah.
And I know how to play the notes the same way, and I could just practice it. I can almost make it sound, I could see that sounding exactly the same.
It wouldn't, but that's where you get into people that are really, really expert, and they're going to notice things that you and I wouldn't notice. Like when somebody, like if somebody says, that they found an undiscovered piece of music that Mozart wrote. And so, so for the rest of us, I mean, the question would be like, okay, well, is it really Mozart? And if I heard it on a classical music station and somebody said like, oh, this is like newly discovered Mozart, I'd be like, okay, because the station is going to have real knowledgeable people. But before they did anything like that, there's going to be music experts analyzing it. And when you're looking at stuff that old too, then you're going to be looking at the kind of ink and the kind of paper and stuff like that.
Yeah, and most music, no matter what genre, most artists have their own kind of style to them in everything, even classical. You told me that too. So if someone's trying to fake something, 9 times out of 10, it's hard to fake everything about that person. So maybe the person that's singing such and such as opera's part, maybe they're not as loud, or maybe their voice is deeper, maybe their voice is higher. And people who listen to them a lot would notice that.
Yeah. And I just when you listen to people that really the voice is an instrument. And so with people that really understand singing, they'll be talking about all these different parts of it. I mean, it's the way you'd be talking about the different pieces in a piano or something. But it's certain, there was a manuscript discovered by by Harper Lee, by the author of To Kill a Mockingbird, and it was supposedly discovered at the end of her life that had been in a attic for all these years. So you have to get all these experts to be saying, is it hers or isn't it hers? Because the people that do forgeries are going to be students or assistants or family members. They're going to be people that know the work really, really well. So it's gonna be tricky, but yeah. And when you're, but like with recordings, if something's on a record, you're going to be able to tell when that record was made. That's why but I don't know, like say if it was somebody, somebody that died not that long ago, or, even people from the 90s or something.
Yeah.
Say you found a cassette tape that.
Like I said, most people have a style. If you listen to them enough, you'll know. You just kind of know. You could fake an instrument. I hate to say it. Like I know with hip hop, most of it is samples. Hip hop are samples. That's a lot of samples. So you could technically take a sample from somebody and it'll be the same sample. But if you try to rap like that person, people can tell, they'll be able to tell the difference.
Yeah. Sampling is, I love sampling to me just seems like collage. It's a whole bunch of things put together. So that's the artistry. So I love collages. So yeah, that's what's so cool. When I first was starting to listen to hip hop and sampling, I was like, oh my, I was just blown away. I never heard anything. I was like, I didn't know you could do that.
I got to give it to them how they sing. Yeah, sampling. It's pretty cool how you can take certain, beats or certain parts of a song and make it into like a totally different song with a beat from somewhere else. Hey, that's a way of keeping music alive, in my opinion. So
yeah, it sure is. And with and then with Basquiat, there's a lot, they can, they're going to be looking at, okay, well, what kind of paint was it and stuff like that? When did this exist? And so just practically forensic stuff, but it's pretty interesting. I'm going to, I had put this article aside and then kind of forgotten about it. So I'm going to pick it back up when I see what I can figure out from the art. So, okay, you want to take a break?
All right, let's do it.
Okay, we'll be back, people.
No cap. Call it the source, forget the middleman. They thought we was playing, now we sit no more business plan. Wait, options, chestnut checkers, own everything. You gotta stay clever. Go to the source, forget the middleman. They thought we was playing, now we sit no more business plan. Wait, options, chestnut checkers, own everything. You gotta stay clever. I'd rather be the under, I'm not flashy, unless it's my kick game. Please don't gas. Remember being on that corner, handing up flyers, hoping one day I'd be that headliner. Grind don't stop, cause you got issues. Just keep that focus, that's how you get through them clouds. Just keep pushing, I stay behind the pot, Fetty stay cooking. No 360, we good over here. Just keep dropping to catch their ears. No tear, no, the boy never complained. But one thing for sure, I was put here to entertain. Learn the game, A to Z. Got my own lawyers, and they better come right with me. This Fetty, it's not just a name. That's what I want about this game. Go to the source, forget the middleman. They thought we was playing, now we sit no more business plan. Wait, options, chestnut checkers, own everything. You gotta stay clever. Go to the source, forget the middleman. They thought we was playing, now we sit no more business plan. Wait, options, chestnut checkers, own everything. You gotta stay clever. Yo, looking like I'm on the corner, trying to build that brand. On my head turner, I'm a runner by nature. Feet to that black top, call me Diddy, cause I don't stop. Rock a party and promote the shows. I'm all in my bag, ain't worried about the hoes. Move up that food chain, don't need to stunt. I'ma cash out everything, no room for a front. Strategize, put that play in motion. I'm a pump fake, touch them, got them frozen. Chicks chose, cause they see that shine. I ain't doing it for nothing, I'm staying on my grind. Create more, force is strong. Get them better results on every song. We own. Now I'm looking back on my job, slay every track. Yeah.
It's showtime, baby.
All my niggas, all real niggas. 707 young Phil nigga. Used to rock a feel it with my heel figure. Then I got the Chevy, let it peel, nigga. Trail nigga, I just want a black card. I just hit the backyard, running from the cop car. Yeah, I did that mean. My niggas served the fiends, got berries and cream, no Black Star. Woke up feeling like a track star. Pull up in the hood, gripping wood, no hacksaw. No gang, that's Capcom. All ism, it ain't even got an app for. Yeah, said I represent the flats, boy. Trap jumping, you can't even hit the back, boy. Oh my God, Graham don't know how to act, boy. I guess I'm stunting, I should probably make him ask for it. I smoke too much weed. I smoke too much weed. I'm on too much change. I'm on too much change. Just let me do my thing. Just let me do my thing. I smoke too much weed. I smoke too much weed. I'm on too much change. I'm on too much change. Just let me do my thing. Just let me do my thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Momo, this is slapping my nigga. Yeah. Finna run this shit. Come on. Do it. Niggas, bitches, gather round, get your game intact. And if you don't catch it the first time, you can play it back. When I'm done, one of the sickest ones to spit it raw. On my dick so hard, thinking you tryna get me jaw. Back, let me get stacks, proceed to roll sweets. In my face, seem like you the type to speak to police. So you know I can't fuck with you. Conversate, spit a verse, roll a smoke a blunt with you. Too many big things on my plate. That's why I say my grace and watch for cats trying to violate. I'ma wait in the cut. We gon' play through him up. He gon' be like, nigga, please
please. I'ma be like, nigga, what? Step your game up, that's how you get your chippers up. Building bigger figures up. Yeah, I know this shit is nuts, but we gotta do for bucks. More than just this rapping stuff. Push a hard line until your motherfucking time is up. Come on.
Trying to put this West Coast thing back on the map. Northern Cali's where I'm starting because this where it's at. Trying to put this West Coast thing back on the map. Northern Cali's where I'm starting because this where it's at.
Yeah. What up, man?
Right here, just a second.
Uh-oh. Oops.
Okay, I'm back.
You got me that time.
I know, huh? You got me.
Usually you're like right there. So I was like, oh, let me hurry up and get back on.
I know. Yeah, I had to pick. Yeah, I realized I was like, oh my God, I did not rinse out that pan. Okay, yeah, and I was just charging this thing right here. Okay, so some fucking those idiot school board members from San Francisco were recalled successfully. And I think a lot of the time, it's kind of a shame to do recalls because everything costs money. And I mean, it's effort and money that, like, okay, why not just wait and vote them out? But these were those idiots that were trying to rename all these schools. They were trying to rename 44 schools because they didn't like who they were named after, including Paul Revere. My brother's like, what's the problem with Paul Revere?
Did your brother go to that school?
Oh no, of course not. This is this is like an elementary school in California.
Oh, okay.
We grew up in Seattle. I was just telling him about it. They want to there's a school that's named after Senator Dianne Feinstein, and people wanted to change that. It's like, fuck that. She's still alive. She's still in the Senate. And it's one thing to look at Woodrow Wilson, who segregated Washington, D.C. But when you are talking about a politician, you're not going to agree with everything. There's a school that's named after Barack Obama, and a group of Latinx parents are trying to change that because they don't like his immigration policies. So yeah, and like right here, I actually have a story later about a college dorm being the name changed from a Ku Klux Klan leader to Authoring Lucy. The difference is in colleges, these efforts are led by students. And I think that if students care about history and you have to do research, you have to learn about the people you're talking about, and you need to organize. And yeah, I mean, I think it's fine I think it's good for students to do that. I think it's good when college students, but elementary school, like, no. High school, you have other things to do. Like, no, even if high school kids want, like, no, they got better things to do. And like, yeah, this is ridiculous. Your kid is like, oh, I'm so, your kid is like, oh, I can't learn because my school is named after Paul Revere. So, and then they have the problem. They always have these lawsuits going on about the selective schools and all. I don't know how to, and that's just fucked up, because then you have Asian parents suing, saying that it's discriminating against them. And it's just so fucked up. I mean, the endless thing about, okay, this school, if they just made I know it sounds so simple. If they just made all the schools good, there wouldn't be that problem. I mean, people shouldn't need to try to get into different public schools. I mean, there's people that are always going to try to get something different anyway, but you should be able to get a good education at all schools. So I really wish that instead of lawsuits and all of that, the focus would be on improving schools.
Right.
All schools. Because what is it? It's like you're saying, like, okay, so we're gonna get busy with this. We're gonna put resources and effort into a lawsuit about this one school. Well, what about the kids at the other school? How's their school? What can you be doing to improve their school experience? I mean, you should care about every kid. So, but that was the mayor of San Francisco I had told my dad about the renaming because I was like telling him about ridiculous stuff, but then he got really interested in it and was following it, and I said to him, oh yeah, well, I love the mayor of San Francisco, London Breed. And he said, oh, you didn't know who she was? And I was like, yeah, I mean, she grew up in San Francisco in the projects. It's her town. And that to me, it just seems so rare. Like, she's been there her whole life. Her family's been there. She's experienced all these different aspects of the city. Like, yeah, she should be running it. And people are mad at her about cracking down something or other, declaring a state of emergency in the Tenderloin and all of that. Like, well, I think she, I mean, I'm sure she's spent.
Why would they be upset about that?
Because they're saying it's inhumane. They're saying, hey, have you been to San Francisco recently?
Yeah. So, I mean, what would be wrong with her declaring the state of an emergency?
People think it's mean. Or I don't know. I mean, people think that means that you're not compassionate.
By saying it's a state of emergency, that it's
like it means giving police more power to pick up tents from the tents.
I don't get that from that. I get it more of like, because it's a problem, like a state of emergency, as in more of.
I agree.
It's an issue. I think it's more how people think about it.
Exactly.
The state of emergency usually is what you say, to try to get something fixed that's really in a bad state, not to.
And it is in a bad state.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm like shocked that people are complaining that she made it a state of emergency. That's weird.
Yeah, I mean, businesses are shutting down. In Seattle, there was just there was a segment I was watching, like there's this whole area in downtown Seattle where people like just pitched their tents on the sidewalk, and it was showing like people need to go. It was showing somebody in wheelchairs trying to get around them, and there was a segment where they were showing business, like restaurant owners are buying, there's something or other like barricades to stop homeless people setting up camp in front of their restaurant because people don't want to go to their restaurant. So, I mean, the people trying to, those business people are not the ones making the problem. And they're just trying to make a living. And, the guys, yeah.
I'd like to see the opinion of the state of emergency. I'm trying to figure out what they would be complaining about on that. That's just so weird.
Yeah, and that the goal, like, okay, it's just drama. I mean, I think some people prefer. There's people that are going to want to argue when it comes to great, big, complicated problems. There's people that would rather argue than try and put your heads together and try and do something about it. And there's something happening in Vallejo right now where people were going to go. There's a bunch of tents around the library, and people were going to move, the tents were supposed to be moved, and shit, there's not even that many of them. And the library wasn't complaining. It's these pricks that run this. There's a part of the Vallejo Library that's called the McCune Collection. It's downstairs. It's a bunch of old books. It's like one idiot somehow or rather. I mean, people just do this shit not to pay estate taxes and stuff like that. Donated this to the city of Vallejo. Like, why is the city of Vallejo maintaining somebody's old books? Nobody from Vallejo is interested in those books. Nobody comes in there for that. And it used to be a space for kids. And then I was annoyed. I posted something about it on Facebook, and a couple of people got real mad at me. I'm like, what the hell? Like, A, how could you be so mad about it in the first place? And B, it's not like me voicing my opinion is going to make any difference. Somebody's going like, it was not the kids' area. And I was like, well, somebody that grew up in Vallejo told me that it was. So anyway, but they're the ones that are complaining about there being tents near the entrance when they don't do anything for the city of Vallejo. I mean, why should Vallejo? Nothing. And supposedly they don't cost the city any money because they're volunteers, but I don't believe it. You have, what the hell? You have like electricity or something.
Yeah, but where do they expect these people to go?
Exactly.
I mean, like I said, sometimes like even behind where I'm at, where the dumpster's at.
Yeah.
We get homeless people that sleep behind there. I mean, overall, what are you gonna do? We had someone come inside and sleep on the stairway.
Yeah.
And I woke up one morning and it was around November or something.
Mm-hmm.
And the dude had all this stuff all over the floor. I guess he brought all this stuff in. It's like, he didn't steal anything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, they ain't got nowhere to go. They got to go somewhere. So,
exactly. I mean, it's not like that's like, you get, like, yeah, I mean, the streets of, people should be able to walk down the streets without a bunch of tents on the streets, on the sidewalk, but it's not like people are there for the fun of it. They don't have any place to go.
That's the whole dilemma. I mean, it might even get to that point one day. If we keep getting more and more homeless people, they might be sleeping on the sidewalk.
They are.
I mean, I'm talking about like hard. I mean, it could get worse.
Well, yeah, and in San Francisco,
so I mean,
they are in San Francisco. They pretty much are.
Well, San Francisco has been like that in the Tenderloin forever. That's why I'm saying. Yeah. They said when she put it as a state of emergency, I think that's actually a good thing that she was one of the people that actually, is trying to put some emphasis on it, because most people haven't done that for years. That's why it's how it is now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we were talking about in political meeting last week, what they should do is there's just so much space that's not being used. Like, open up an area and tell people, an area where people can bring their tents or whatever, and like have tents for people that don't have them, and have security guards there, because unhoused women are sexually assaulted a lot. And so, you talk about homeless people stealing, it's like homeless people are more likely to be victims themselves. And like, have showers there and medical facilities.
That makes sense. That makes a lot. That's the best option I've heard so far, because I'm going to play devil's advocate though.
Go ahead.
So what about the homeless people that don't want to do that? That don't want to, sleep in those areas, because I do know this for a fact. There are sometimes homeless people that have shelter. They do have like boarding houses and stuff they can stay at, but they don't like the fact like they have to be in at 10 o'clock, and certain times they have to be in, and sometimes they have to do certain things to stay there.
Yeah, there's some.
Like,
well, I think when you're looking at a policy or an initiative, you need to look at it for itself and see if you think it's any good and see if you think people will do it. And so do it. And the people that do not go along with it, you need to look at them as a separate issue. That's like, it's sort of like mask mandates. Like, okay, should there be a mask mandate? Not everybody is going to follow it, but you still need to look at the question of, is it a good thing or not to have it? You shouldn't make decisions. I don't think you should make decisions based on people that aren't going to agree with them, or
Yeah, I agree. That's a good answer. I agree. I actually like your answer. Like you said, get a space, hire maybe a couple of security guards.
Yeah.
I remember San Jose was going to do something where they were going to take old Connexes or something.
Yeah.
Or something weird like that and make them into little makeshift homes.
Yeah.
I don't know why they didn't do that. That was a good idea too.
Yeah.
All these old little scrapped, all these areas we have where old like train depots and stuff with all the box trains, just go in there, kind of clean it up and use the box trains and make them into little homes, put a bed in there, a table, a little cooking area, and maybe like a shower or something.
Well, yeah, definitely have showers and charging stations. I do that when there's when there's homeless people around, like near me. I ask if they want me if they want me to charge their phones or something. I do that sometimes. I'll like bring somebody's phone in and charge it and bring it back out to them, so I can feel like I can do something to help.
Right.
Yeah. And I used to work at Harborview Medical Center in Seattle, which was the county hospital. So we unhoused people were taken there. And by the time you have somebody like that, or the people coming to the public hospital, they'll have like 10 other things wrong with them besides the thing that actually brought them to the hospital. And the county or the state or the federal government, somebody needs to pay. Somebody pays. And so if you set up a facility, there's so many illnesses and problems that don't even need to be a big deal if you can catch them quickly. And if people are able to shower and keep themselves clean, they're going to be a lot healthier. And if you have a first aid station there for, people to even like get even just simple stuff like being able to get antibiotics or some, cream or stuff for infections, if you can have somebody there. So yeah, you can have a first aid person there, like an RN, have a doctor come in occasionally. You save so much money it's $1,000 for somebody to walk in the door of a hospital. You save so much money by being preventive. Part of the problem is that I was talking about that in a meeting the other night. Whomever is it's a different entity that's gonna be paying for that for the homeless facility than indigent patients. So, just trying to put it all together, and that if you look at health is, you look at somebody being ill as a measure of their position in society, and that if it is somebody who has not been able to have medical care, they're going to go to the hospital with with high blood pressure, whereas if they've been able to have a checkup and get high blood pressure medication, that's not going to happen.
Right.
So, okay. Speaking of societal illness, rest in peace, Dr. Paul Farmer. He died age 62, which is very sad. He was a global medicine specialist, and he would go to different parts of the world and start medical programs. And originally he spent a lot of time in Haiti, opening up medical facilities there. But one of the things he did was he built the facilities with people from the country. So it was self-sustaining. There's people that go on medical missions and they'll come in, like 10 of them from outside the country, and do something, and then they leave. And so it's the same bullshit. How I hate that. It's like when people pay all this money to go to some foreign country and work in a kindergarten. You should be donating to that money to donate the money to the kindergarten so they can hire people from their community there, so that you can employ people from the community. And it's just so wrong. So, like at one point, you can hire people as assistants in a hospital and all that. Like, there's a lot of underdeveloped areas where there's not physicians, but you can certainly have people doing the direct care there who are from there. So he was only 62. So it's just very sad. He inspired a lot of people, and he always kept the pressure up on politicians, on global practices and industry and business, like how to get systems to work better. I volunteer at this program called Food is Free Solano, and the idea, like, there's gleaning from people that have extra fruit, but the idea is, I don't know, like we get all this food from, like if a restaurant's gonna I don't know. The idea is so that nothing goes to the landfill. Oh, I got a projector. There's a site called,
nice.
There's a free page in Vallejo. Pretty much almost all my fucking furniture is from that page. My table, chairs, not this lamp, but my other lamps, my couch, so much stuff. It's
And so you found a projector. So are we going to start doing our thing or what? Nice.
Yeah.
We should test it out. We're supposed to be going there.
When?
We're supposed to be doing duck soup on Wednesday the 2nd.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So if you wanted to try it out, you should probably bring it and see where you can set it up. And
okay. I just
do
need a sheet for a screen. That's not hard. I'm gonna ask because I was looking to see, because what's her name's, we just did it on the wall, but I was looking, their wall is kind of, I don't know, it has like a bunch of nails in it. There's a wall where there's space to do it, but I think we'd need a sheet. I'm gonna ask Mario if he has one I can use. But yeah. So yes, we'll be able to do it. Twitch talk, because I'm pining. I can't yeah, I had to put another project I was really into to the side for a moment till I can raise more money. So a lot of stuff I do, that's the thing. I mean, I've been able to do a lot of shows and do a whole lot of stuff with no money or barely any money, like, maybe not needing to raise much money. But when you try and get a little bit more complicated, you need more money. So yeah, so it'll be good to be able to put on the show. Okay, so rest in peace, Dr. Paul Farmer. In Saudi Arabia, 28,000 women applied for 30 jobs driving a train. Women have just been allowed, over the past couple of years, they've been making very slow changes in their society. Women are allowed to drive now. They're allowed to, so women in the workforce, the numbers doubled in the past 5 years. Women are able to travel now without getting permission from men. So yeah, 28,000 women are applying for 30 jobs. So, I mean, hopefully shit, that's another country. I mean, if they just shared a little, if those oligarchs or whoever just shared a little bit, some of their wealth, my God, they could do so much. My brother's going to go to Saudi Arabia next month. And he said, because he's working on this, because he's working on this project, to assist social media victims. And he's so fucking smart, man. He got in on asbestos when there was tons of money to be made doing it, and now he's doing the social media victim thing, and he said, like, yeah, I got into this just at the right time. I'm like, yeah, fuck you. Because there's a conference about it in Saudi Arabia, and I was like, Saudi Arabia has the internet totally restricted. Why is it there? But I don't know, but it's interesting. It'll be international, and you have to, because the social media firms are international, and social media they just have to be real careful about figuring all this out, because it makes a big difference for people that are isolated. So, I mean, social media it can be used, like, I mean, it's been used, like we've talked about how it was used in Myanmar. Like, there can be algorithms that will direct people to violent sites, so they need to look at that. But in Saudi Arabia, of all places, there's people that are able to use the internet to communicate with the outside world. So yeah, so that's gonna be pretty interesting. The University of Alabama removed a Klan leader's name from the building during a special meeting on Friday. The Board of Trustees unanimously, they were going to name a hall after this. It was named after a Klan leader, and they were gonna name the same hall. They're going to call it Lucy Graves Hall, after Autherine Lucy, the first Black person to attend the school in 1956. So I was like, yeah, okay, you're not even gonna give her own building. You're just gonna slap her name on this hall with a Ku Klux Klan leader. But thanks to efforts, his name is going to be removed, and it will just be called the Autherine Lucy Foster School. And so that's cool. And that to me is something that's a community taking action about something. And Autherine Lucy is still alive. So yeah, so stuff like that is good when it's college students, when they're getting involved in history. She's alive. Like, fuck that. Leave Paul, who cares about Paul Revere? Okay, so the pastor of a Catholic church in Phoenix resigned because he's incorrectly performed thousands of baptisms. He's got one word wrong. It's supposed to be, with this we baptize you, and he's been saying for years, with this I baptize you. So apparently baptisms performed there are invalid.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I know. I know. I mean, the guy's been there for years. It's been his lifelong parish. And so he resigned. He had to resign, which, I mean, he was like a neighborhood pastor. I mean, so yeah. I thought the point of having popes and cardinals and all of that was so that they could change rule. I mean, can't you have the Pope come wave a wand or something? So now a whole bunch of people are heathens.
Wow, that's messed up.
It is messed up. It is messed up. I mean, there's things in Orthodox Jewish traditions like that. Like we were told when we were kids at camp, something or other, they had this really, God, it's fucked up. They had something or other where we were supposed to have pretend marriages. I'm like, why the fuck are you having junior high school kids do this in the first place? But they told us that if you exchange something and say, I give you this, then you're really married, and and they'll need somebody to come give you a divorce. And if this is really the shit they tell you. And then there's somebody or other, there's this priestly tribe in Judaism that has special rules, and there's people that still follow it. And they, so they'd say okay, well, if that happens, then you're married, and you're gonna need to get a divorce. And that means you can't marry someone who's a Kohen, because they're not allowed to marry somebody that's been married before. One of my great aunts had a boyfriend, a partner for years and years, but they couldn't get married because he was a Kohen, and she'd been married before. So yeah, but that was okay, if you if you say something, rather, if you give them something and say this, then you're, so that's, I mean, it's the same sort of thing. Okay, if one word, it's your intention doesn't even matter. It's just the words. If this word can make something what it is or wasn't, it isn't. So where is your fucking agency or anything? So yeah.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. We've been following the Chagos Islands. Okay, and that is an archipelago belonging to the country of Mauritius. And when Mauritius became independent from Great Britain in the early 70s, they said that Great Britain could have the Chagos Islands. So all the Chagosians were removed from the island and taken to Mauritius. So, and Great Britain has allowed the United States to use the Chagos Islands for a military base because they're right in the Indian Ocean. So it's like a convenient spot for a military base, I guess. So the UN has, the UN has issued decisions that yes, it should belong to the Chagosians. And this is being said, this is a fucking relic of colonialism. And so there was a group of citizens, people from Mauritius, who are doing an environmental survey or something. That's something like that, some scientists. And so they made the trip over there with a group of Chagosians, of people from the Chagos Islands. So I was watching video of people, because they were in a big boat, so they would have had to get in these canoes in order to get to the shore. People got out of their canoes and kissed the ground. And then they raised their flag, the Mauritius flag there, and sang the national anthem. And it just really, it made me emotional just looking at these, like, wow, okay, this is really their home. They feel that attached to it. And, I certainly don't feel that. That's just so deep. I don't feel that way about where I was born, but maybe if I'd been booted out of it, I would. But yeah, so come on, Great Britain. You should it was just, and it's the case of some, I guess whoever the leaders were in Mauritius were just, there's always like governmental reasons for stuff like that. They're like, okay, but it was their, like, okay, Britain is supposed to have realized what they did was wrong. And okay, like Barbados is no longer, the Queen is no longer their head of state. What they're trying to do is, like, once the Queen dies, like, everybody, that's what they're trying to, like, shore up the monarchy, because they think everything will just all go to shit when the Queen dies. So yeah, but okay, so have a good trip, Chagosians. We are rooting for you. So with over 200 million speakers, Swahili, which originated in East Africa, is one of the world's 10 most widely spoken languages. And there's a renewed push for it to become the main language of the African continent. A lot of people speak it, from kind of that, the people from Kenya, from that part of the world, the East Africa. I think a lot of people in Nigeria speak it. It's just people in that part of pretty much. And then for a lot of people in North Africa, their native language is Arabic. But then you go down to sort of the Central and South Africa, and a lot more people speak Swahili. In addition to, there's at least, I think in the Democratic Republic of Congo, there's about 200 different languages. People have tribal languages. So, but Swahili is one of the most centralized one. And so the African Union made Swahili the official language. English is the official or second language in 27 out of the 54 countries in Africa, and French is the official language in 21 of them. Tanzania attempted to make, when during Pan-Africanism in the 50s and 60s and the revolutions, there were countries that were trying to get more Swahili more widely spoken. I mean, it's a trip. It's like when I've been to other countries and so many people speak English, I feel kind of embarrassed. I feel kind of like lazy. Like, okay, if you don't know, if you speak English, you can usually find somebody that speaks English, but then you'll see like a bunch of people that are not native, like, you know, if you're in Europe and you know, there's people that are French, you know, all European, a lot of them, they'll be speaking English to each other because they all speak it. And when I was like, even when I'll listen to recordings of African leaders speaking to crowds, a lot of times they'll be speaking in English because a lot of people speak it, and that again could be a country with hundreds of languages. Like in Democratic Republic of Congo, everybody pretty much speaks French. So a lot of their official functions and leaderships are going to be in French because people speak it. And then the next is Lingala. So yeah, like, see, that's when it's like, speaking of languages, one of the things I realized I have to put some of my sign language advocacy projects down for a bit because since I don't know sign language. And the big thing that happens a lot to deaf people is people will say they'll learn sign language and don't. That's a big deal. That's something you hear deaf people talk about a lot and write about a lot. See, I can never figure that out. Like, wait, are you supposed to say, you know, like, no, I don't hear deaf people talk about this. I read deaf people writing about it, but yeah, but I do not make that promise at all. I do not tell people I will learn to sign. I like learn words here and there. But it's just so hard to, if I can't, I mean, I was trying to have this discussion with Petty. I thought that they really did want to work with me more closely, because when I met with him with an interpreter for Bayard Rustin Symposium, I thought they wanted to get more involved in production and publicity and promotion. But I was only able to meet with him once with an interpreter because that was all I could afford. So, and then the other, like with the professor who spoke, the deaf presenter who presented, the deaf professor who presented, all of our correspondence needed to be over email. And so that was part of the problem. I just couldn't, I couldn't totally ascertain if she was clear on what I wanted. And so that's why, and then I would been having this text exchange with Petty the week before saying, yeah, it's hard for me to come up with the money. And he's saying, like, it's hard for deaf organizations too. I'm like, well, yeah, I know that. But, and then at one point he sent me a message saying, well, can you get something or other from your organization? So the next week I wrote to him saying, I just want you to know that I'm an individual and I raised all the money myself. So I just can't. And I don't know. I mean, I feel like I know like deaf people have expressed to me that they are appreciative of me advocating for sign language, but like with the letter I have in now for the trying to get city council meetings ASL interpreted, I texted one of the deaf people saying like, okay, do you want to keep going with this? So yeah, I think people feel like, okay, people appreciate what I've done, but I think like, okay, I guess I can't communicate. I need to be able to communicate with people more in order to do this advocacy. And I can't always be the one paying. I'm not going to always be the one paying for an interpreter. So I'll see where we go. Because even with there'll be some political forums coming up. And, for the elections 2 years ago, I was like busting my ass to get in ASL interpreted. And there's another young guy here who's running for office, the city council, that's interested in sign language. So I'm going to ask if I can get a few other people to get involved with this, I'll do it. But I'm just burned out or just frustrated, and when you don't want to. I'm not upset. I'm not frustrated, like upset at all, because I just don't get that way about stuff like this. I just like, okay, I initially became interested in the politics of sign language like 10 years ago and was doing some research and stuff then. I had to put it down for a while, and I'm like, okay, we need to put this back down. Okay, speaking of elections, I've been having these real interesting conversations with my new friend, Sharon Henry, who's running for district attorney of Solano County. So, yeah. Okay, so because she's not too familiar with Vallejo. She's not familiar with Vallejo at all. So I've been talking with her about Vallejo, and I've just been saying people here are real mad at cops and they want to know what you're going to do. That is going to be the questions. That is a big deal for people here and in this town. And one of the things that's happened in Solano County was the district attorney of Solano County was supposed to decide whether to prosecute the police officers who killed Willie McCoy, who was passed out in his car and killed with 55 bullets. And he was a rapper, as you know, so rest in peace, Willie McCoy. And that's an execution. And so the current district attorney of Solano County referred the case out. And she said that she referred it to the state. And she said she did it because people in the community believed that it wasn't going to be a fair trial. So she said, well, the community believed that there was a conflict. So even though there wasn't, and I could have done a fair trial, I sent it out. See, there's the same logic to me as not doing an initiative because people won't comply with it. That's not how to think. It's like, okay, if you think that you can give somebody a fair trial, it is your job to do it. Tell people, like, explain to address the conflict of interest and explain to people the truth, but then you just need to move ahead and do it, because there's people that are not, there's always going to be people that don't like this and don't think it's fair. So I've been trying to get, and then Sharon's the assistant district attorney of Solano County. So I've been trying to get out, because I asked her, I was like, okay, well, people will want to know if you'll prosecute cops. And she said, if there is enough evidence for a trial, I will prosecute. That's a lawyer's answer. And that's what she has to say. And so she's going to be at an event on Saturday. Saturday is Black History Month celebration at Vallejo Naval Historical Museum, put on by Ms. Askari Sawande, who does a lot of events. And so I heard from somebody that Sharon was going to be there. So I texted her. I was like, that's great. You're going to be there, because that is the lion's den for the DA. That is a bunch of people that are real mad at cops. And so I said, like, you know, people want to know if you're different than Krishna. And she said, she's like, well, she was, because she's going to make a decision either way. And so, you know, I mean, in that crowd of people, there are a lot of people who are the major anti-police advocates who've had relatives killed by police. So I wrote to her and I just said, you know, I mean, there's people that are really hurt and angry, and if they are able to get some trust in you, I would be very happy. She wrote back that she would too. I mean, you know, I think she's a good, kind person and an honest person. She needs to do her job. And so I guess apparently, because if she were to say anything about those cases now, and they did go to trial and the cops were convicted, they could get it thrown out based on any statement she made now. So she really can't say anything. So, you know, but it's going to be hard. I mean, there's people that are not going to trust a district attorney regardless. There's people that are not going to trust a prosecutor regardless. So, but yeah, but that's been real interesting. So I've been trying to get her. She was going to come get together with me this week, and I wrote her. I was like, you know, I know I'm really good company, but if you're going to take the time to come to Vallejo, we should like make it a thing for your campaign. See, I really want to be involved in it. I love campaigns. I love politics, and I'm kind of, you know, because I wrote to her, I was like, okay, well, give my name to your social media person. She doesn't have a social media person, but kind of, I don't want to volunteer to do that because I don't want to get, I don't know. I might, because she needs social media, but, you know, because yeah, she needs to meet people in Vallejo. And I mean, I would love to help run a campaign and be real, and it would make me very proud, and it would be a lot of fun for me, and hopefully like eventually get me paid to do stuff like that, because I know a lot about politics. I know a lot about campaigns. So there you go. Okay, so speaking of politics, I've been reading about Huey Long, who was the governor and senator of Louisiana, and was going to run for president and was assassinated. He was a real populist. So he was known for things like getting roads built and busting up monopolies, busting up oil monopolies, and I mean, fighting for the little guy, but he was also real corrupt. And apparently, like, once he was one of these people, like, okay, because back in the 20s and 30s, I mean, you think elected officials get away with a lot now. They could do whatever the fuck they wanted back then. There was no regulation. I mean, he just, once he was elected governor, he just fired everybody he didn't like, and brought in his relatives and friends for the positions, like people that had been appointed, like people that were I mean, there's a lot of positions in the government that are appointed, but they're not political positions. They're like inspectors and examiners and stuff like that. And they shouldn't change because of who's elected. But you get somebody like Huey Long there and you do. And so people are getting thrown out like that. He basically, if there was something he wanted that wasn't legal for the cops to do, he would get the National Guard to do it because the governor controlled the National Guard. He didn't like the governor's mansion was falling apart, so he left his family at their home and like called the warden and of the nearest prison and had a bunch of convicts come and knock it down. I mean, this guy did what he fucking wanted. But I mean, he shut down newspapers. I mean, he was a dictator. So, but there were people that would say like, well, he's a dictator, but we like what he's doing, so that's okay. That's kind of the question with, and there's something to it. Because again, I mean, this country is supposed, like the Native American tribes in North Dakota are suing over gerrymandering because that means with districts being redrawn, like they've redrawn a district like halfway, like splitting a reservation, like going halfway through and splitting it in half or something, so that then you have the reservation people voting with other people that aren't on the reservation, and people are saying that that it means they won't be able to have Native representation. So yeah, so that's sometimes, I mean, so basically there's so much stuff like that happens in a democracy, and that, okay. Oh, and then the orange guy, remember him? Okay, he's on Putin's side with all this shit. He is praising, he's praising Putin. He's talking about how brave he is. I mean, the guy only has 1 million soldiers. Yeah, real brave. So yeah, I guess the orange guy like now has his own social media app, but it doesn't work very well. I know.
Well,
yeah, basically. Okay. So so I guess, so back to Catholics wanting things to be word for word. The Catholic Archdiocese of Lagos, that's the capital of Nigeria, has suspended a reverend father for shouting down the worshipers who were singing an Igbo song during mass. People were singing a song in their native language, and the pastor tried to shut them down. The reverend, I guess. Why do people bother?
Right.
Yeah. But then there was another, I had it mixed because there was a video on YouTube of a church in Sweden or something whose reverend was Nigerian, and the choir learned the hymn in Igbo as a tribute to him. So I was listening to, so when I saw that, I was mixed up. I'm like, wait a minute, wasn't I just watching this really beautiful video of a bunch of Swedes singing in Igbo? But yeah. women in India are continuing to demonstrate for hijab, and they're being barred from schools for covering their hair. Like, in a way, I don't even I mean, there are a lot of countries and cultures where women cover their hair that aren't Muslim. It's just, so I don't even know how they, I guess they can tell for certain styles that they're, so that should, for that alone, that shouldn't even make a difference. Like what? I wear a scarf sometimes. Are you going to try and keep me out of that school because I'm wearing a scarf? So I was listening to some interviews with women that wear hijab, and it was something they had all chosen to do as an expression of them, as their personal expression. And so somebody was saying, like, okay, if we wear it, if we don't wear it, you're saying that basically on all sides, whichever side people are on, it comes down to trying to control women. And it's fucked up. Why don't they, you're gonna see, like, tell Muslim, like, no, they shouldn't, like, Sikhs wear turbans. That's people just. So, and like, they were just they're now allowed to wear turbans in the military because of their religious right. I don't know why. Okay, so I don't know why all this happens in California, but they're in Colorado. There's another fucking case from Colorado where a web designer doesn't want to work with gay couples. So that's going to go to the Supreme Court, whether her religion entitles her not to work with gay couples. So, it just gets crazier and crazier. Like, okay, why can't you just say, I don't, like, okay, you don't, like, even like with the Equal Accommodations Act, even Thurgood Marshall was hesitant. He wasn't a fan of sit-ins in the first place, and he felt that demonstrating for equal accommodations, that it might not be the right path, that legally people possibly did have the right not to serve everybody. And that was looking at it, that was looking at it as a lawyer, not about morals. So, man, if you're an individual web designer, I'm like, wait, so if you're an independent contractor, you don't have to work with people you don't want to. So, the point of doing stuff like this is, but you have to draw it somewhere. Like, no, you shouldn't be able to turn away gay couples you shouldn't be able to turn people away from hotels. I was trying to just think of a way to look at it. And I don't know, like, okay, is it, because I even got to the point with the wedding cake. It's like, okay, well, cake decorating is artistic. If she doesn't want to do this piece of art, then why should she? But yeah, the point is that, okay, that means that hospitals could refuse to treat gay people. And there's already discrimination against people for adoption in serious stuff. So for legal cases, a lot of the time you do need to just go to take some small thing like that as an example to set the legal precedent, because isn't that why you're an independent contractor? So you can why can't you just go, I don't like you, I don't want to work with you? Who knew there were so many conservatives in Colorado?
Who knew?
I know. I thought it was just a bunch of mellow snowboarders and stuff. Okay, so I think we're about ready to wind down. What do you got going on this week?
Oh, nothing this week. Just normal. We got I know we got happy hour. I'm not sure about Shrieking Know Better Do Better. We got to see how that's going, but we definitely got happy hour. So.
And then you have duck soup on Saturday?
Oh, and duck soup on Saturday.
Okay. So let me see. Okay, so Saturday is a Black History Month celebration at Immersive Learning Center put on by and Solano AIDS Coalition. Our friend Mario is helping with that. And Saturday night is Black History Month celebration at Vallejo Naval Historical Museum. And that's put on by Ascari Sawande. So that is always a good show. And hopefully next week we won't be at war with Ukraine, with Russia, whatever. Yes. Okay. Go Chagosians. We're rooting for you. So, okay. I think we're good.
All right.
Okay. Night, everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.
Anna's Historical Podcast Radio, everybody.
That's right. We'll be there
out.
next week, 8 to 10 every Tuesday. Good night.